Welcome to Driving Forward. I'm Dumisha Greater. In the fleet management industry, skills development and training are critical. Joining us for more are Juan Marais. He's a sales director at Cartrack, and Dean Temlett. He is from Man Support and project manager. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Dean, let me start with you. Fleet management, this is something that we do need to do, and of course we need to ensure that we've got the correct skills. What skills are actually required to carry out this particular function?
I'd say it's quite a broad base of skills that you'd need. Fleet management, if we look at it extending between the driver and the control room, we have a lot of challenges, I guess, in our country with regards to drivers. Drivers have got quite a lot that they need to think about on the roads these days. From the OEM side, we focus on making sure that the products are a lot easier for them to allow them to focus on other aspects for driving. But at the end of the day, you're still transporting quite a big load. You've got a 56-ton rig in some cases that you're trying to maneuver, and that demands a lot of technical technique from the drivers, as well as an awareness of safety and economy and those types of things. And the same thing would go on the controller side. The controller would also need to have quite a lot of insight into those factors.
Juan, let's come to you. I mean, looking at your understanding, obviously you are looking at algorithms, means of measurements in order to look at whether or not we've got these skills in place. But how is South Africa faring? Can you give us an indication of how our skill set fares with what we've seen around the world?
Look, I mean, if you look at our business, typically we specialize in providing the technology to be able to measure coaching and also to be able to measure driver performance. So if you look at the products that we actually give to our customers, we're looking at some camera systems, which is not typically of the norm. It gives you the opportunity to coach your drivers. And if you look at general telematics, we install the units into your vehicle to actually be able to give you the reporting to train your drivers. And this is of great benefit to the fleet managers and typically also the business we do with MAN. And at the end of the day, you look at a training situation that would increase safety. So if you look at our situation with the rest of the world, just looking at the driver stats and the accidents over the last weekend, it's definitely something that we must pay a lot of attention to, and that's basically the need that we are trying to fulfill with technology.
Now, obviously, technology is important, but we need to have the right regulatory environment to ensure that we've got the skills to build on this, and of course the enabling environment to make sure that we still nurture this. Dean, from your perspective, I mean, does South Africa have the right regulatory environment to ensure that we are still able to build on these skills and deliver the types of safety that we do need?
I think from a regulatory point of view, I think we're very close to being there. I do sometimes get a little bit concerned in terms of the alignment between those and the needs of the fleet owners, and also how relevant are some of these regulations. If you consider also what are the requirements to become a driver, for example. I mean, if you want to go and get your Code EC license to drive one of these big rigs, you go to your licensing department, you do the learner's test, you then go and do your actual practical test with basically a very simple truck, a single axle trailer with no load. I would say that probably weighs about anywhere between 6 and 8 tons. And once you've got your license, you are now permitted to drive one of these 56-ton rigs on the road. So, there is a bit of a misalignment there, and there's a gap that needs to be filled. And unfortunately, that's been shifted to the private sector to deal with. Whereas I think the regulations there should be a little bit more tighter and say, listen, let's focus on getting the drivers to a level that they need to be before we put them behind the wheel of these massive machines.
Juan, you are nodding there in agreement to know what he said. A private sector now is being pulled in to fulfill that particular role. You need to make sure that these drivers are at that particular skill set.
Absolutely. I mean, if I have a look it's sometimes it's really knee-jerk information that we go on, because we only react after the fact when some of our customers approach us and they say to us, can you analyze this accident? What happened? What happened in the time beforehand? And typically, if those drivers were really trained properly and tested properly, we won't be in the situation of having to analyze and go back 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes a month, and have a look at if we had the correct skills in some very, very expensive equipment.
Just to stick with you, Juan, it's been said that when we look at telematics, South Africa is amongst one of the leaders in the world. Maybe I do stand corrected with regards to that stat, but if we really are, what has gotten us to that particular point, and how are we going to be able to consistently keep on staying ahead of the curve?
Well, typically, if you have a look at our business, I mean, it's in the top 10 in the world.
Yes.
You'll have a look at the critical mass was basically brought on by stolen vehicle recovery. So the fact that we are very well known in South Africa to have vehicle losses, and also in the insurance industry that it has become a requirement in some of the policies to actually have stolen vehicle recovery products embedded in the vehicle, has given us a great platform to actually to get the technology to be able to give you proper diagnostics and to give you proper efficiency reports. And just pure volume has put us on the worldwide stage as far as technology is concerned and applying it. So yes, we're definitely up there. But again, if you have a look at the availability of GPS and location-based technology, the future is for us to be able to draw it into proper reporting, and that's our strength, is to put it into proper reports and use it for training and use it for day-to-day information, and of course use the cameras which go hand in hand with that to drive safety and coaching of drivers. That's what the business we're in.
And then we've got the issue, talking about safety, there's the issue of whether or not we need to be outsourcing individuals or companies that can ensure, safeguard fleet moving from one place to another, or if we should ensure that we train the individuals that we have in-house so they've got the skills to protect themselves. I'm not sure what your take is on this, Dean.
Look, I think there is a lot more outsourcing of functions like training now. The drivers have got a very basic understanding of the vehicles that they need to operate, and then there's a big gap that they've got to cover between actually now maneuvering these rigs, and then I'd say there's the additional portion which we focus on, which is to try and take them to that next level of professionalism, where they can really get maximum benefit in terms of fuel consumption, productivity, wear and tear. And those kinds of things you don't see a lot out there. There aren't a lot of third parties out there that offer this kind of thing. But where there are, I think that it's also easy to demonstrate return on investment. If I just think about the actual costs for a long haul operator, I mean 66% of the actual total cost of ownership is in the hands of the driver. When we talk about fuel is probably the biggest cost. We talk about wear and tear items, tires and brakes and clutches and things like that. And I mean, a small investment in training can have huge payoffs in terms of the amount that you can save in those areas. So there's lots of opportunities there, and I think, as things develop, we'll see better logistics performance out there.
I'm going to come to you just now, Juan, but I want to just stick with, better opportunities. And I think everybody's moving towards transformation and gender transformation being key. You think of trucks, women is not the first thing that comes to mind. How are we doing with that? Are we seeing more females entering this particular space?
Okay, well, I guess it's a dangerous subject, but no, look, I think one of the nice things is that over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of technology that's been introduced to make it a lot easier to operate these vehicles. A lot of the technology that you see on your cars is on these vehicles. So it's shifted a lot from being more of a brawn operation to more brains. And I guess from that point of view, women are a lot more skilled in some cases, but you can have a woman behind the wheels. It's just, I'd say, the environment is a challenging one. You're away from home a lot. you're on the trucks for long hours. But where I think there's a lot of potential is that the driver needs to be in contact with the control room and with the fleet manager, and there's I think a lot of opportunities for women to be that other voice on the end of the line, who can help direct and steer and also pacify the drivers, I think.
Juan, your view on this?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you look at the reporting portion of the business and the control room environment and the analyzing of statistics and the management of the fleet, it's definitely the back end is becoming bigger and bigger. And as the technology improves, you'll find that it's easier to replicate, instead of having an outsourced situation, with the information that we can actually give the fleet manager, who could easily be a woman, to actually use that information to get better efficiency. And it doesn't mean that the lady have to get into the truck and drive. I mean, they could be the back-end people doing the calculation or the communication or the reporting to save money and to drive efficiency, for sure.
Gentlemen, I just would like to get some concluding remarks in terms of fleet management. We've spoken about various things, outsourcing, transformation in terms of having equal representation of females, even being in this particular sector here. But maybe what are some things that you would like to leave us with, thoughts that could maybe make this particular industry better?
From my view, there's always a massive benefit of for training, for skills development, especially in the country that we're in. Generally, we see the skills base or the skills level of people in the industry is perhaps not at the level where it should be. And so I would say the more investment in education, the better. That's what I would love to see. I'd love to see more attention being paid to training, particularly on the driver training front. That's my... yeah, but otherwise, I think also then from the regulatory point of view, it would be also good to see government raise the bar a bit in terms of what's required. We also have a bit of a problem where there's a surplus of drivers out there. If you think that Stats SA gave a figure or reported a figure of nearly 5 million licenses registered in the 3.5 ton category up, and you've got close on 500,000 vehicles licensed. There's definitely excess supply in the market, and we need to also focus on maybe narrowing the supply, but focusing on the skills and the quality of the driver.
Juan, closing thoughts from you?
Well, I mean, the future is definitely training, and if I have a look at a lot of our customers, we'd like to get involved more in training more of our customers. I mean, in a particular, even it's individuals in a particular environment, because we've realized that the more information you can impart on people and teach them to try to use the technology to improve efficiency, the better for your business. And also, I think the people that are in these big trucking companies, they can really become more and more important to their own business if they know more, and you get that training crust deeper instead of just trying to train a few. So it's definitely, for us, it's one of our big challenges to get to more people and give them information, for sure. It's definitely the future of it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insight into this. Of course, a very big thank you to Juan Marais he's a sales director at Cartrack, and Dean Temlett, man support and project manager. That's it for this episode of Driving Forward.